Hello, Tom LaVecchia here with the latest edition of the New Theory podcast. I have a friend on today, a special colleague, and a kind of quasi fellow podcaster because she produces the Italian American podcast. Her name is Stephanie Longo. She's an expert in Italian American history, and this is what I love. Right? You hear a lot about historians, or they know this and they know that. Her lane is in the northeastern Pennsylvania area. And not only that, has actually authored specific books indigenous to that area. Northeast Pennsylvania, Italians of Northeast Pennsylvania, Italians of Lackawanna County, and Dunmore. Stephanie Longo, welcome to the New Theory podcast, or shall I say, Benvenuti. How are you?
Grazie, Tom. It's so great to see you. And thank you so much for having me to be a part of this. I'm really excited to talk to you about something that I know you and I both love dearly, which is our Italian heritage.
Exactly. And so I'm a wimp, and I'm going to tell you why. And I respect you and John Viola, who we talked about as Italian American culture dead, and we'll talk a bit about that. But like, you guys are living and breathing the culture every day, above and beyond just the household, making it, your vocation and your passion. You're combining the two, which I love. So give us about how you started, like obviously as an Italian American, but when did you kind of start say, hey, I want to be an expert on this area and go all in?
Well, you know what? The funny thing is, it kind of happens to you. I feel like I should have a bumper sticker that says heritage happens, because that's really what it is. I always say to people, my first memory is of my Italian heritage. My grandfather, and coincidentally, the anniversary of his death 48 years ago was actually on April 1st.
Oh, wow. My condolences.
Yeah. Okay. We're recording March 31st. So, he's always on my mind, but especially right now. I never knew my grandfather. Wow. And his example to me has been passed down through my mother. So when I was about 5 years old, Mom brought me to a pizzeria here in Clark Summit, Pennsylvania. So local to me here in the Scranton area. And just to try to keep me to be behaved, and, a 5-year-old, you're out shopping all day, you're kind of antsy, you're hungry. So to keep me under control while we were waiting for food, she took the placemat and she started tracing the map of Italy on the placemat. She said, my daddy's from here.
Oh, wow.
And I never forgot that. And it just kind of went from there. Just having things like the spaghetti aglio olio at Christmas Eve. Getting to go back. So the town behind me is Guardia Lombardi. That's where my grandfather was born. Yeah. Just getting to live that heritage and really experience it. And it became less the place where my grandfather was born and more, this is such an important part of me that I can't separate the two.
So I am doing a Joe Rogan. I'm looking it up as you speak. It's Water di Lombardi, right?
Yes.
Wow. Okay. So just to show everybody that's a little bit of a small world, is Water di Lombardi is literally, I believe, a stone throws away from Vallata, where our family is from. And a lot of people emigrated over to, I'm trying to look on the map to see how close it is, but it's like super close. And I think you could literally throw a stone. So like, we are like, we're definitely like, we're legitimately Paisani, not like, hey, Paisan. No, we are like,
no, we're legit. Yes, so, we could even be related. It's kind of funny. John Viola and I discovered that we are distantly related too.
Really?
He has family from Sant'Angelo dei Lombardi, which is the next town over. And because the borders in Guardia and Sant'Angelo, they're kind of a fluid border. There have been places that have been in dispute, the sections that have gone from one town to the next, depending on who's in charge. A lot of people from Guardia have Sant'Angelo in their tree and vice versa. And we were just chit-chatting the one day after we recorded an episode with Pat O'Boyle, and we found out that John and I are actually distantly related. A friend of mine, Denise D'Antona, she's like the expert in Guardiese and Sant'Angelioese genealogy, was able to pinpoint exactly how we're related. It's going way back. It's like to the 1700s, but John and I are distant cousins, and it was like, what are the odds of that?
So here's Water di Lombardi, and here's Vallata.
Yep.
And wow, like we are like literally like, so this is obviously like, so the terror goes kind of here and go out here and it's off the Autostrada, but like it does look far, but it's not far. And then in the Italian world, it's It's not far. This is crazy because like it's almost like going to Germany and like running into somebody and saying, "Hey, you're from, where I'm from, Roselle Park, and oh, you're from Union, and these two small towns that nobody ever heard of, but you're right next door to each other." So that's fantastic. So all right, so now I'm super excited. Okay,
it's the best though, and plus too, I mean, your town has this amazing Good Friday procession.
Yes, tell us about it because we're going live to tape today. So Friday will be apropos. So why don't you tell us a little bit about it? I was there one Easter, and I was there for it once. So go through.
That had to be amazing.
Yeah, it was good.
Vallata actually has one of the oldest Good Friday processions in the world, if not the oldest. It's about, if I recall correctly, about 500 years old, and it's just been going on continuously from then. And I became good friends with the people who've been doing their social media, so I've been getting a window into the preparations of it.
So wait, you're working with the Holidays social media people? Like who does the Holidays social media? That I need to know.
There's just these really great people who are into Venerdì Santo Vallata. And I have a blog. It's all about Irpinia, which is where you and I and John were all from, Irpinia. And they found out that I did this blog, so they wanted to get an article out about it. And I did that a couple of years ago for them. And I just always stayed in touch, like seeing what they're up to, seeing how COVID has changed things for them. I don't believe that they are having anything this year. I believe if they do anything, it's just going to be very reduced like it was last year. But, they're so excited about it. I mean, it's a live action Good Friday procession, very detailed, very beautifully done. I haven't seen anything like that in all of Irpinia. Just
dressed like the Roman soldiers. They do the beat, the whole bit,
the whole
walking.
Thing.
Yeah. Oh wow, it's funny because I was watching the video of it when I was in Vallata because I would go in the summer, and I'm not gonna lie, I was a younger kid, so I wasn't as interested. But as I got older, I had much greater appreciation for it, just like many of us do. When you realize as your mother passes or as the elders pass, like, oh shit, you know what? You're the steward of the culture and you want to keep it going. One thing I like particularly about your story is, how does it work? If I'm born here, am I first generation or second? I always screw that up.
It's funny because depending on who I talk to, it's either or.
Okay.
I mean, I consider myself, depending on which branch of the family, a second generation or a third generation.
Got it.
I feel like it's just up to you.
Okay. But what I love about your story specifically is you are a granddaughter of somebody from there. And got to remember, like, I'm even almost like Americanized, and I have 3 children, and, I don't speak Italian as well as I used to, and I got to get back into it. I do understand it, but I got better going here. Like I gotta get back into it. I'm gonna take some classes because I want to learn formally. But I love the fact that you're not like just parents were both born there. Your grandparents, and you found that connection and that kind of stuff. The other thing is you also get rid of some of the prejudice, meaning when I do speak Italian or I hear people my generation speak Italian, they'll actually have the accent of that area and it's generally dialect, but you learn proper Italian, correct?
So I'll tell you a funny story.
Please.
So my grandfather's sister, my Aunt Jenny, she was my grandmother. So both of my grandparents on my mother's side died before I was born. So I didn't know Nonna Joe or Nonna Anna, which is
same thing with me. Same thing.
Crazy.
Only my only living grandmother died when I was 6 months, and the rest I never met.
Oh my gosh. So you understand. Now my father was Lithuanian, so I know his side. I knew my grandmother on that side, but my parents divorced when I was 3. I obviously gravitated toward the Italian side since my mother is the Italian. In fact, Longo is her maiden name. I legally changed it.
Oh, wow.
But Aunt Jenny and I were very close, and she's my favorite aunt. In fact, sitting next to me, and probably because I'm on a virtual background, it's going to disappear a little bit, but you can kind of see it. It's the only picture I have of my grandparents and Aunt Jenny together. Aunt Jenny was the maid of honor at their wedding in 1940, so I keep at my desk. But Aunt Jenny, of course, she came from Guardia. She arrived when she was 5. Grandpa was 11. And anytime that I would speak Italian to her, she'd be like, "Oh, you're speaking that highfalutin Italian again." And I feel bad because I actually am in the process of learning Neapolitan, which is so close to Guardiese.
I'll teach you that. That's
it's
easy.
The best.
Easy, but yeah.
Oh my gosh, I
Wow.
love it. It's like my little fun time during the week just for myself. And I have an audio recording of my great grandmother Nicoletta, who also came over,
Yeah.
singing in Guardier's dialect. And now I understand what she was saying. And these are these songs that they used when they were working in the fields. Our family had a chestnut grove
Oh,
in
wow.
Italy, and these are the
Castagna.
songs that they sang, and it's amazing. Yeah, our area in Italy is known for the chestnuts and the hazelnuts. So
All right. So you got into the culture.
yeah.
And you learn the, because there's also people that are really Italiophiles. So John Viola and I talked about this, that Italiophiles as well, whether they're Italian or not. But the beauty of the center is a culture. I mean, the language of the culture, and the fact that you learn the language is amazing. The fact that you're relearning or learning the dialect is amazing as well. But you're kind of going one step further, and this like super intrigues me. First of all, what is Northeast Pennsylvania? Is that Philly? Is that
No.
Pittsburgh? I have no clue.
So I always say that that northeastern Pennsylvania roughly corresponds to the 13-county region that comprises the Diocese of Scranton. That's kind of like my little ballparking way of saying this is the great Northeast.
So you do it around the church catchment area, or you said diocese? But I get what you're saying.
Yep, it's the Diocese of Scranton. Yeah, I mean, that's like the only way that you can really describe it. I say to people, if you're driving south on the Pennsylvania Turnpike from Scranton and you're in the Lehigh Tunnel, like once you leave that tunnel, you are no longer in northeastern Pennsylvania. Like you're in the Lehigh Valley now.
And that's Old Forge area, right? Or no?
Yep. Old Forge is definitely Northeast PA. It's Lackawanna County. It's one of the top 2 most populated towns of Italians in Lackawanna County.
You were saying.
My hometown of Dunmore is the number 1 in Lackawanna County.
Okay. So
yeah,
I have this thing, right? I have this thing where, and you got, and like the Italian American podcast, check it out. I'm going to put Stephanie's link as well. Stephanie's a producer of that. She has her own blog. We're going to link to that. I'm trying to get her to start her own show. So just put make sure you bother her to get her own show. But that's another discussion for another day. Sorry to put you on the spot, Stephanie.
It's okay.
But I have this thing where you can tell where somebody's from, where they moved to. So a lot of people from Newark are Calabrian.
Yep.
A lot of people from Elizabeth, New Jersey are Valadez or Ribera Ribera from Sicily. If you're from Brooklyn, you're probably a good chance Sicilian. If you're from the Bronx, a good chance Sicilian. So like you say, hey, where you're from, not only will I know, hey, what part of Italy, I might even get their town without even asking. So give us who migrated over to Northeast Pennsylvania, Scranton area.
Okay, so the thing that I always do with people when I give presentations on our area, I call it the Italian map of Lackawanna County, because Lackawanna County is, out of all of the 13 counties of Northeast PA, the most heavily populated with Italians.
Love it.
So my hometown of Dunmore, for example, where I actually live in Dunmore, and this was not planned, I swear, is the Guardier section. So we're all from Guardia Lombardi. Everybody that's around me is from Guardia, but we're actually not quite in the Guardier section. It's actually down the hill in Bunker Hill. So
got it.
We're the people who couldn't fit, like when they ran out of space in Bunker Hill, they trickled up the hill.
Is there a social club for your town there?
No, there used to be one. Now, because a lot of people too from Dunmore came from San Cataldo, Sicily. There's actually the San Cataldo Club, but a lot of the members are Guardiers. They kind of stopped a little bit with some of the ethnic lines. The church, though, is, if you go inside St. Rocco's Church, it actually says this church was founded by
St. Rocco is our patron saint, right? Our area?
Yep, he's the patron saint. I did a post on the Irpinia stories just kind of outlining all of the venerations to him because he has so many different mantles in Irpinia. He was credited with saving the town of Guardia from the plague in 1656. 1,100 out of 1,400 residents died of this plague, and they didn't know what else to do, so they prayed to St. Rocco, and he saved the town. So he's not the patron saint. It's San Leone, Pope St. Leo, who is the saint of Guardia. But St. Rocco is considered Guardia's protector. So St. Rocco is venerated here in the United States by the Guardias community. Because
we used to have St. Rocco's feast in Elizabeth. That was the big.
We have a feast here in Dunmore too. So also in Dunmore, there's people from Calabria, the Calabrese community. I'm also half Calabrese from my Nonna Anna.
Oh, wow.
They're all over the area as well. So
they're
Dunmore.
Scary. They're scary.
Yeah. I know. They say that the Guardiers have hard heads and that the Calabres have hard heads. So you're just in deep trouble with me.
That's
and
right.
Lithuanians have it too. So I mean, that half Lithuanian sometimes comes into play as well.
Yikes. Yikes.
In Jessup, one of the other towns, they came from Gubbio, which is actually in Umbria, and they brought over the Sant'Ubaldo festival from there. Carbondale, the other city in Lackawanna County, they have a lot of people from Sicily and Calabria. Scranton, the city of, a lot of people from Calabria. In fact, that's where my grandmother's family settled when they came from Nicastro.
Yeah.
There's also a lot of people from San Mongo d'Aquino, Calabria, that settled all in this area called Bull's Head, which my grandfather actually had his barbershop in Bull's Head too. So lots of people from there. Old Forge, the people came from Felito in the Cilento area.
Where's that?
So it's kind of near us, except that it's more toward the coastline. It's like outside of Naples and south of Naples in that general area, but they came and settled in Old Forge. So we have just this giant population of Italian Americans in our area, and people don't realize that the Italian Americans in northeastern Pennsylvania have that north central influence as well. If you cross the border into Luzerne County, there's a heavy population of people who came from Gualdo Tadino, also in Umbria.
Interesting. So what about with Italian Americans when they came over? And you know this, and we don't have to spend a ton of time in it. There is a difference of Italian American culture and Italian culture.
Yeah.
And you seem to, which I like about you, is you seem to understand both and the nuances and differences. But are there anything indigenous to that area that is uniquely Italian American? Like, so for example, my daughter's obsessed with The Office. I'm gonna you sent me the certificate, so thank you for Dunder Mifflin, right?
Yeah.
So I'm gonna probably take a ride to Scranton for that. But Dave Portnoy, the pizza guy, went out that area, and the three hot spots for pizza are obviously New Haven, obviously Manhattan or New York, but then Old Forge. So like, how is an Old Forge pizza? Let's start off with pizza first. How and then culinary, right? Because I love pizza. That's why I'm getting so much weight. But what's the deal with Old Forge pizza and what makes it a little different?
So Old Forge pizza, it's a thing that was actually caused by the coal mining industry. So what happened? The miners needed something to eat when they went off to the mines.
Yeah.
So the women would create this pizza that was easily transportable for them, that could be eaten at a room temperature, for example, and eaten down on the mine.
Yeah.
And it just ended up becoming the thing in Old Forge. In fact, if you study the pizzerias in Old Forge, they're all related to each other in some way, shape, or form. It's kind of cool if you sit there. Yeah. I'm good friends with Angelo and Janelle from Caro and Janelle's Pizzeria.
Yeah,
and
plug like the top
yes.
plug the top 2 or 3, right? And I want 1 or 2 to be the known that everybody knows, but give us some unique. So give us the top 2 or 3 in your opinion.
Oh, in Old Forge or in all of northeastern Pennsylvania?
Let's do Old Forge first.
Okay. So I'm going to give Angelo the plug. I mean, he is such a good guy. He has worked so hard just to maintain Italian culture in Old Forge.
And what's the name? What's the name of it again?
Caro and Janelle.
Okay, cool.
And at one point, that was actually voted the #1 pizza in the United States.
I'm checking the app to see.
Yeah. Now he doesn't use social media, so our Caro and Janelle restaurant.
I use the how Italian I am. I use the One Bite app by
nice
by Dave Portnoy. Our like how do you spell it?
ARCARO.
ARC. Okay. Okay. So he tried it. He gave it a 7.5, which isn't bad for him actually. And then people in the community give it a 7.4 at 67 reviews. But that's actually pretty. 7.4 may sound low. It's actually pretty high. So
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. No, to me, they have the best pizza in Old Forge. And I don't want to say anything against anybody else because I'm friends with a lot of the owners, but
oh my God, I gotta get so much crap. Watch, just kidding.
No, it's all good because you know why? You end up developing a certain taste for something. I mean, I could tell you about pizzerias here in Dunmore where I'm just like, yeah, that's where I go because everybody has the place that they go to. But the cool thing about the Old Forge pizzerias is that everybody supports everybody else. And I love that. They really care about everybody else. They don't, Angelo's not like, well, don't go to Ravello's, come to me. I mean, he supports the other business. Ravello's is very good. Yeah. Funny story. So Donald Trump went to Arcaro and Janelle when he came. Hillary Clinton, because she also has ties to Scranton through her father.
Oh, wow.
In fact, both her parents are buried in the Washburn Street Cemetery in Scranton.
Oh, wow.
When she came to the area, when she was running for president, she stopped at Ravello's for some pizza.
Oh, wow.
So everybody has their own pizzeria in Old Forge they like. I've just known Angelo for so long that that's kind of my go-to place when I want
it looks like
pizza.
It looks like a thinner Detroit pizza.
No.
Or no, maybe not thinner Detroit, but it looks like Sicilian-ish to me.
It is. It's like a Sicilian-ish, but it isn't. It's a uniquely Italian-American pizza. Okay. You're not going to get it anywhere else. It was really created because these wives of the coal miners needed to give something to their husbands to feed them, because don't forget, they're working 12 hours in the mine. You need something that's easily transportable that you could pick up and carry with you while you're going through the mine doing your thing.
Now, okay, Northeast Pennsylvania, best food in the whole area.
The best food in the whole area.
The best pizza, because you gave the Old Forge Enclave.
Well, I gave the Old Forge Enclave the plug. The best. So I'm probably like a bad Northeastern Pennsylvanian here, because my favorite is actually pan fried.
Really? Mm-hmm. Fair enough. How about best Italian food in the area?
Oh, that one I can never pick. I always say my mother's, because seriously, like, you grow up in an Italian household. The best Italian food, I'm just going to say it depends on what dish you're looking for, and it depends on where you want to go, because everybody has their specialty dish that they have. Like I said, for me, the big thing here is definitely the pizza. I'm trying to so the next time that the podcast gang comes, I'm dragging them, and I don't think it's dragging, because I think they will want to go, but I'm making them go there to the Victory Pig Pizza, because to me, it is like the greatest pan-fried pizza ever. I get cravings for this stuff. It's so good. What they do is they bake it in peanut oil, and they turn the oven up so much that it actually fries on the bottom. And
before it goes in the oven?
Like they'll put peanut oil at the bottom of the pan, and they'll make the pizza, and they'll bake it. It's with San Marzano tomatoes. At least that's how Victory Pig is. The sauce has a little bit of onion in it, and I think it's a Munster cheese, but don't quote me on that.
Do they put sauce on it, or do they allow the tomatoes to melt?
I think they allow the tomatoes to melt. I never paid too much attention to it, because I'm always
too
happy
busy
when I
get
out.
I hear that.
But it is, to me, go to Old Forge, get the Old Forge pizza, and then go on a pizza tour of Northeast PA and get yourself to Victory Pig. In fact, my friend Jim, he runs NEPA Pizza Review. He just goes around and he reviews all the pizzerias in the area.
I love it.
And I'm always discovering new places to go thanks to him. But my number one place is Victory Pig. Like, I went there last Friday on a whim, but I go there all the time on a whim. It's terrible.
All right. I got an important question to ask you.
Yes.
You ready? Okay.
Ready.
So as you know, as I mentioned, I grew up in an Italian American household. My parents both have passed. My mother passed in 2014, and she cooked phenomenally, and she made great pizza. So that's why I love pizza so much, right? So one of the things was interesting is a funny story is I would go out for work. I was a sales rep, so I'd go out to eat a lot for work, and I would obviously never you can't, like, that's why you answered the question right. Because you're not really supposed to eat Italian outside the house. It's just not done. Like, you don't go to, if you go see Italians at an Italian restaurant, eat there, because they don't go out to eat, right? So it's too cheap, and they know the true cost of the food, and more importantly, make it better at home. All joking aside.
My mother says that all the time.
My mother said, I'm not paying, well, my mother would be like, can't pay $19 for pasta that's 19 cents. But aside from that, I know what's going into it, the old school. I make it myself. And it resonates there, right? So anyway, my question to you is, I tend to gravitate towards stuff that I believed was harder to make at home. So because my mother either just stuff that's harder, right? So I started eating carbonara, and of course my mother learned how to make it. Excellent. Gnocchi is a bitch to make. She makes it. She made it once in a while. What's a dish that you can recommend for me now? That because if I go out and eat even great Italian food and it's not going to be good as my mom's, right?
Mm-hmm.
What dishes do you recommend for me that are just inherently a little harder to make at home that actually may be a little better in a restaurant that I should try out? And I want you to
Oh,
think
that is a
about this
tough
one.
one.
This is a hard one. And I want you to think about it because I literally order Stranger Things because I can't order like spaghetti and meatballs. I can't order
Yeah, I can't do that.
puttanesca, fra diavolo. All those are things that
Mm-hmm.
she made better than anybody, in my opinion. So when I go out to eat, I'm trying to find dishes that are maybe a little off the beaten path, so that are harder to make at home. So inherently, I probably didn't have them. What are your thoughts on that? And I
So
know
what
you
I
mentioned,
do,
yeah.
it's kind of funny. So if I go to an Italian restaurant, I tend to ask them what the specialty of the house is. And then that's what I order,
Okay,
because
that's fair.
if it's considered their specialty of the house, then obviously they must have a special recipe that
Good
I
point.
should try, or there's something in it that maybe is not native to the cuisine that we've done in my household or something along
Good
those
point.
lines.
Good point.
So I always say, like, what's the specialty of the house? Like, what is
Yeah.
your dish that this restaurant is known for? And then I try that. It's funny. I also, if I really don't know what to do, or like, you're out on a business meeting and they take you to an Italian restaurant, or you're out on a date and they invite you to an Italian restaurant, which is probably not a good thing because that's it's opening up a can of worms in the dating world there.
Yeah.
But I end up with my back dish, and that's always eggplant parmesan. I will eat eggplant parmesan no matter when you want to give it to me. I will.
Which is a uniquely Italian American dish.
Exactly. If eggplant is on the menu in a restaurant, I will order that. I will enjoy it. Yes, my mother can make it better, but I'm still going to enjoy it because I just love eggplant so much.
Okay. So in your opinion, okay, so now talk to the restaurants. What is your opinion on differences of Italian restaurants in US versus Italian restaurants in Italy, obviously, or restaurants in Italy?
That's a really good question, because to me, so when my mother and I went to Guardia for the first time, the town actually paid for us to go over because they wanted me to launch my book there. My first book, so Italians Northeastern Pennsylvania.
Oh, you launched it over there?
I launched it over there. Yeah,
that's a badass boss move. Love it.
It was so awesome. It was crazy. They had like Stephanie Longo Day in the town. This whole big thing. I have you can't see it because I'm on a virtual background, but I have the plaque that they gave me behind me and everything. It was so awesome. But where they had us stay was an apartment connected to a restaurant. And I'm still in touch with the people to this day. And it's pretty cool because they put a lot of time and thought into their recipes. And that's not saying that the Italian American restaurants don't do that.
Yeah.
But I feel like the Italian American restaurants, just from the experiences I've had, they tend to stay to the more traditional recipe. Like, this is the recipe that my grandmother brought over. This is how we're going to do it.
It over almost there, stopped in time, though. Sorry to cut you off, but almost like frozen time. Yeah.
Yeah. Over there, they're more willing to innovate with their recipes. They're more willing to play around with them a little bit. This restaurant that we stayed next door to, I see them on Instagram and they're trying new fillings for their ravioli, or, we went out and we picked mushrooms and we decided to make mushroom ravioli. And you might see a little bit of that in some of the Italian American restaurants, but I feel like the Italian American restaurants are more like, this is the old recipe that we've been doing for 100 years. This is what we're known for. This is what we're going to stick to. And there's nothing wrong with either approach. I think either approach is fascinating.
Got it.
And delicious.
And then who are some of the famous people from Northeast Pennsylvania, the enclave that where you're from, that we may know?
Like the famous Italian Americans.
Yeah.
Ooh. To me, I always feel like everybody should know Gino Merli.
Who's that?
So Gino Merli received the Medal of Honor in World War II.
Oh, wow.
He successfully defended his group of soldiers from a German attack in Belgium. He faked his death several times just to protect the other soldiers.
Oh, wow.
And he was just such a nice guy. I never had the pleasure of meeting him, but every single person that I met that knew him, he was just nice, like just one of those good people. He didn't see himself as a hero. He was just really humble. I got to know his wife really well when I was doing Italians in Northeastern Pennsylvania, and just humble, salt of the earth, kind, decent people. And he never walked around with, yeah, I received the Medal of Honor. Like, he never had that air about him, even though he had bragging rights. And I feel like people should know his story, because really that is the greatest generation. Where would we be without our veterans? And to me, he is the main Italian American from this area, especially Lackawanna County. And of course, you have people like Joe Amato that came from this area, the race car driver. You have other Italian Americans who have made their mark, but you need to know Gino's story, because Gino's story is the story of the United States.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
So, okay. So it's funny because I love so as a marketer, right? I love the lane of, hey, like if there's anything going on Italian American and anything going on in Northeast Pennsylvania, you're it, right? So I love that lane, right? But respectfully, isn't it a little bit of a narrow lane too? So give us through like, how did you get to be the expert in an area, in a culture, in a subculture, because American culture and Italian. So it's like, I'm fascinated by that. So give us why not Italian American history or opera or, kind of a serendipitous area of the culture. Walk me through that a little bit.
Well, the thing is, I love Northeastern Pennsylvania so much. John jokes with me. He calls me Miss NEPA, which I guess I am in a lot of ways, because you can't separate me from this culture. It's just where I'm from, who I am. It's just as much a part of me as Guardia and La Mezzia Terme are. It's just who I am.
Yeah.
It kind of happened by accident, all of this. I never intended to go into this. I wanted to be an interpreter at the UN. I was an Italian and French major, and I wanted to do that. I wanted to be surrounded by all these different cultures and things. And Italian was taken off of the list of the languages that they wanted my senior year of college. So I pivoted a little bit. I was going to do a PhD. The PhD got canceled. And I was going to do a PhD in Italian. And
start your own program. Do a private program. Start your own.
But you know what? Now I can't even see myself doing that. I love what I do so much that I don't need the PhD. It's great for people who want to do it, but I teach at a college locally. I teach at Lackawanna College. I love it. But if I wanted to maybe have a full academic career, I'd go back and do a PhD. But I love what I do so much that I have 2 master's degrees. That's good enough.
I hear that. One is more than enough.
Oh yeah. And I mean, I enjoyed every second of my higher education, but I didn't know what to do when that PhD was canceled. And I just so happened to go to, it was called the American Italian Historical Association. It's now the Italian American Studies Association. They were having a conference near where I was, and I happened to meet Dominic Loro and Jerry Crace, so 2 well-respected Italian American historians. Started talking to them, and Dominic was like, well, where are you from? And I told him my sob story, because I was like still reeling from what just happened. And he was like, did you ever think of writing a book on the Italians of your area? Well, I had loved writing since I was a kid. I always wanted to write. And I was like, oh yeah, but it's so hard to get published. He's like, give me your card. Well, I didn't have a card. I had loose leaf. Like this was me at like 22 years old. Like I just ripped it off and gave it to him. And he hooked me up with Arcadia Publishing. And that was how all of this began. And I ended up going back to my alma mater, the University of Scranton. I got a master's in history. I was able to focus on Italian American history through that program. And then I ended up getting a second master's in journalism from Regent University.
Now, has the community been supportive? Like, are you in all the libraries?
Yes.
You go to the pizzeria, maybe see on the shelf. For the most part, your community is fairly supportive?
Yeah. It's hard because it was weird. When you publish your at like 22 years old, they're like, who is this kid? It's a weird feeling. And I had a lot of people that were like, oh, this is a money-making scheme. Like, no, it really wasn't. I don't make a dime off
there's
these.
No money in books,
there's
everybody.
No money in
there's
no.
Raise my hand. I think I lost. I think I lost 50,000 on my first book, to be honest with you.
It's crazy. I mean, you spend more money to get it done than you actually make off of it. But I mean, it's a labor of love. And I wouldn't have it any other way. I love doing it. A lot of the people in the community have been extremely supportive, though, especially the local historical societies, especially local people who are just interested in learning a little bit, because I feel like a lot of times, at least in this area, you see a lot of Italian organizations that are like, oh, like, let's get together, eat spaghetti and drink wine, and yay, we're Italian. And people don't really know, like, I did a map. It's funny, this map that I did of downtown Scranton, all the Italian-American sites in downtown Scranton.
Oh,
and
wow.
People were messaging me. They were shocked. They were like, I didn't realize there was so much Italian-American stuff. I'm like, history's around if you just open your eyes.
Oh, wow.
Here. Yeah.
That's cool.
I'll have to email you the map.
I'm gonna get all your books after this, and I'm excited to read them. For some reason, I don't know why, I like New York is the mega center, the mecca of Italian American community, right? And then New Jersey, as a result, is a little bit of an offshoot. But I'm like oddly fascinated with Italian American enclaves outside of the tri-state area and how they operate, what they do, the nuances, and that kind of stuff. And I'm looking forward to learning more about the Northeasterners, especially from a Paisan. So why don't you share with the audience, our viewers and our listeners, how to find you? And I'll put the links below, but how can we find you for those listening?
Sure. So my author website is www.stephanielongowriter.com.
Beautiful.
The blog that I have is www.irpiniastories.com.
Interesting.
And then, of course, you could always find me with the Italian American podcast, and that's ItalianAmericanPodcast.com.
Shout out to John.
The best job ever. I don't
were you ever on it as a host, or
Yeah, he's had me participate in several of the episodes, and it's so much fun because it's different when you go behind.
When you're the producer,
from behind
then it's
the glass.
like, oh crap, yeah.
It's an interesting thing, but they're family to me, and it's just conversing with my brothers and sisters. It's just a nice feeling, and it's I've never laughed so much on a job in my life. I've never had this amount of fun on a job. I thank God every day. It's kind of funny. John doesn't know this yet, but the other day I got the alert from my voicemail. So I'm notorious. I don't delete things off my phone. I don't delete text. I don't delete voicemail. Well, then what happens? Your memory gets full.
That's right.
And I got the alert that I had to delete stuff. So I'm going through my voicemail, and I'm locking things, and they sent me a birthday message on my birthday that I refuse to ever delete. As a rule, I don't delete any of my mother's text messages.
That's smart. I wish.
Things,
yeah. Well, my mother never texts, but voicemails. You're right.
Exactly. The voicemails, they just stay. So I'm looking at this, and I realized I still had the voicemail from John when he asked me to interview with him for this job.
Wow,
I was just like, I'm not deleting this.
That's amazing.
This has to be preserved. So
That's amazing. I absolutely love it. Super proud of what you're doing, Stephanie. For what it's worth, people like me are proud of people like you, of you, because you're keeping the culture alive. That's what makes America great, is to have the, let's say, Italian American culture, and the key word and the operative word is American. So we celebrate the American culture. We celebrate our Italian heritage. It's what makes us a country great, and you are representative and indicative of that. So Stephanie, thank you for being on the New Theory Podcast.
I can't thank you enough, and just thank you for all that you do, because it's nice to talk to somebody who's just as passionate about their heritage as you are. And I feel like you and I could go on for hours.
Oh my God. Forget it. If this was freestyle, we'd be here to next Wednesday. So really appreciate it. And we'll talk to you soon, Stephanie. Thank you.
Thanks, my friend.